As we wrap up the month of September, what better way to wrap up the month of September, head into October with basketball season just around the corner than to bring back a familiar face for Alabama State women's basketball, and that's Adria Harris. And thank you for Adria for getting on with us today. And I could refer to you as she's a coach. I could refer to you as an owner. I can refer to you as a former player, and then soon to be doctor, if I read your profile right. So,
you did.
Thanks for taking time out of your schedule, because I know it's a busy time of the year, because not only do you do basketball, but now you got volleyball going on at the same time.
Yes, that was a new hat that I decided to kind of help out and put on over at Carver High School. But thanks for having me, Travis. I'm excited. We have a really good relationship just from working with you closely with the athletic department over at ASU. And it's always not only a good time to be a Hornet, but always good to be in good company with good people. So thank you for having me.
Well, you're welcome. I tried to get, this is about as close as the Carver Green as I could get. I tried to represent for you, even though I went to Lee. I tried to get as close to the colors as I could. I just couldn't quite put my hands around wearing dark green, because I figured you were going to be wearing gold at some point today.
Yes, you knew I was going to be wearing gold to kind of represent Carver, my pro team, and the Alabama State University. So I kind of mixed it all in one.
Before we get into things that you're doing right now, I want to read this part of what you sent me, and and going through your Twitter handle and looking at some of the quotes you have and some of the things you have. This seems to fit with everything that's going on, and it's your main objective, is to empower women and others through the game of basketball by continuing to work hard, impact lives, and make a difference. I usually wait till later in the podcast to talk about that, but when I'm reading it and then I pull up your Twitter handle and start going through your feed today, and everything centers around this, how important is that, especially with what's going on today?
Well, I really take pride in what I do as a coach. I tell people all the time, coaching is definitely a purpose that I have, but it's also a calling, in my opinion. I feel like there are a lot of people out there coaching that probably shouldn't be coaching because they're coaching for the wrong reasons. And, my reason for coaching is not necessarily wins and losses and things of that nature. I'm there to teach life because that's how I was taught as an athlete. And it's a formula that works, in my opinion. I think it's important that everybody understands that it's bigger than basketball, it's bigger than sports, it's bigger than anything that's going on as far as the aesthetics of it, you know what I'm saying? And a deeper, if you dive in a little deeper, you can understand that it's way bigger than the sport alone. It's about these kids being able to understand the importance of being a good citizen in life. And like you said, with everything we have going on, teaching them how to be kind and teaching them how to love and teaching them those characteristics just through the game. So basketball is just my vehicle, and I just use it to empower not just women, but young people, period, and others. I think we're always in a situation where we can learn something. So I have great mentors. I'm surrounded by great individuals like yourself. And I have great associates that, helped lead and guide me on this journey. I'm just all about impacting lives and making a difference. I think it's from a spiritual standpoint, it's important to me because that's what God was when he was here. He was our example. And I think at the end of the day, it's about what we do for others, So another one of my sayings is do more. We have to do more. So that's why I'm here. I feel like when you coach for the right reasons and do things the right way, the scoreboard will take care of itself.
Now let's rewind. Now that I completely threw off every aspect of what we were going to talk about at the beginning and the end, let's we'll just blame that one on you because I just happened to scroll down and see the main objective. But let's talk about you growing up and before college. Let's talk about being a native of Birmingham first of all, and then going to school at St. Paul's in Mobile. So here's my question. Before we even get into that, Birmingham, Mobile, Montgomery.
Yes.
Not the only place you haven't hit is Huntsville.
All surrounding areas. Yeah, I tell people, people always ask me where I'm from, and I say I'm from everywhere, in Alabama. But seriously, I was born in Birmingham. and raised. And my whole family is from there, my mother and my father. After they split and got a divorce, my mom, my sister, and we moved to Mobile, Alabama, where my grandfather was pastoring at the time. So my grandfather, God rest his soul, he passed away some years ago, but that's where the foundation, our whole family on my mother's side, we kind of migrated to Mobile to be able to help my grandfather in that situation. As far as he had 2 churches, he had one in Mississippi as well. So all of his kids left and went there and kind of migrated to Mobile. And that's how we ended up there. I grew up in the church. As they call me, I'm a preacher's grandkid. Really close to being a preacher's kid, but just a part of the first family of the church. So really grew up in a spiritual background, and I love it because it's definitely has been my foundation for who I am as a coach and who I became as a person as well. So I'm super thankful for all the things that they instilled in me while growing up. Went to high school at St. Paul's, and people always ask me, because I was definitely a minority there, and they was like, Adria, I was literally the only Black girl in my graduating class. Had a wonderful experience at St. Paul's, and it was something that my mom, when we first moved to Mobile, they just really wanted us to have, a great education, wanted us in private schools, wanted us in private settings. At the time, I didn't quite understand it, wearing uniforms and all that kind of stuff. But when we first moved up there, I went to UMS Wright. After that, I went to a middle school called Norwood Christian. I kind of cried when Norwood Christian did not create a high school. I think we all did it in 8th grade because it was such a good experience. It was really extremely diverse, and the teachers were great. And went on to St. Paul's to play basketball and all that good stuff. Had a great experience. But coming from St. Paul's, where I was the only Black girl in my graduating class, to going to the HBCU is one heck of a dynamic. So all of my friends always ask me, why'd you do that? So I was being recruited by schools that were PWIs, of course. And it's not that I didn't grow up around Black people or anything like that, because of course I'm African American. But the college experience for me, I wanted it to be a cultural experience. And so that's why I chose Alabama State. I actually, Coach Harris saw me playing against BC Rain. He had already signed, I think, Sophia Hinton and Crystal Kitt, who I played with at State. And he saw me play against them. We were all in that 2001 class. And I was being recruited like schools like Middle Tennessee State and Sanford, schools like that. So it was a couple of more, but I was on my way to, I cannot remember the school. I was on my way to a school in Tennessee, and Coach Harris and them called me and said, my mom and my dad, or whatever, my stepdad at the time, they called and said, Coach Harris just said, stop by here, Adria, on your way to the other school, just do an unofficial, So Coach Harris is so charismatic, and I loved the relationship we had in the recruiting process. So my mom and stepdad was like, okay, let's stop by. I stopped by Bama State, did an unofficial visit, and I never made it to the other school. I never made it. I instantly fell in love with Coach Jackson, Coach McDaniel, and Coach Harris. Stepped into the Acadome and was just amazed at everything and the possibilities. And so I made my decision right there. Literally had to call the coaches at the school in Tennessee and tell them, I'm not making it. I'm not going to make it. I've committed. I committed almost right there. It was awesome.
So 2 things you touched on, and let's touch on this a little bit, just for the people at home that may be listening. You talk about being at St. Paul's. St. Paul's has changed a little bit over time, not a whole lot, but a little bit. But you talk about the culture here at Alabama State. You weren't in school. I'm not going to say raised in that culture. You weren't raised in the school setting in that culture in high school. How important was it for you to use and base that on your college decision?
It was important to me because I had been in that other setting for so long. And I think even at early age. And I had, of course, my parents and everything were a huge influence on my decision as well. But for me, at a young age, I knew I wanted to have a good balance. You know what I'm saying? I knew I wanted to have a great balance, and I wanted to be able to go into any setting. Now, don't get me wrong, because I was extremely green. The energy that I had was different from what they experienced on their high school levels of playing college ball. So I grew up in a different type of culture as far as high school. And so it was important to me to have balance. And that's why I did it. I wouldn't change anything about my experience at St. Paul's. I had a great time, great teachers, great administrators, great coaches. And it really prepared me for Alabama State. And I'm able to walk into any room, you know what I'm saying? And I'm able to adapt. And I think that's very important. I was green when I came to Alabama State as far as like finding out about fraternities and sororities and all of that. Like all of that stuff was new to me. And a lot of people meet me and like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, like we didn't have that. We had sororities like Beta something in the colleges, and and everybody went to Alabama, Auburn, things like that. They all went to PWIs because they were, Caucasian. So it was really cool though. I'm happy I chose Alabama State. It really made me who I am.
Well, I can honestly say before I ask this next question, the Bowley personality is still there. It hasn't left.
It is. I am who I
am. So you brought up a name. Obviously, the first name that a lot of people bring up, but first two names a lot of people bring up, women's basketball are Alfreda Abernathy and Shamika Jackson. But you brought up a name that has been brought up in circles when you start talking about post players, and that's Crystal Kitt. And
absolutely,
to this day, she's still referred to as the steal that Alabama State got, that she has no business
unbelievable
wearing an Alabama State jersey.
Yeah. So really, it's so funny because we're in a culture now where these big name players are coming to HBCUs. And if you think about it, that's how it used to be. All of the major African-American athletes went to HBCUs. And I think that's important because it's not that Alabama State wasn't capable, because they're more than capable. We're Division I like everybody else. And during my coaching tenure at Alabama State, I always talked about, we're Division I like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? As far as some of the resources and money and things like that, it's not a major or a major Division I or anything like that. But we're a mid-major Division I, and we have everything we need to be successful. And that's what I love about Alabama State. Nothing's too big or nothing's too small. And Coach Harris landed Crystal Kitt, and that was a big deal. Crystal was getting recruited by every SEC, ACC school you could think of. Alabama thought they had her in the bag. Like it was, and so Crystal came down who, her personality, she immediately gravitated to Alabama State as well. And it was a great thing for me, because when she chose to go and her and Sophia chose to go, they were co-players of the year for the state of Alabama that year. I said, man, this could be really something if we go here together. And that's what we did. So, great player, great person.
So we talk about post players, and Coach Harris's name has been mentioned. And I don't know if you've had a chance to watch that interview, but he knew he wasn't going to be able to get off that interview without the explanation of where power came from. So I put him on. I asked him, I was like, Coach, when you were playing point guard in the 80s, I said, I know that's a long time ago and it was hard for you to remember back then, but did you scream power every time that you threw the ball in the paint? And so he proceeded to tell me the story that it came up that when they were doing layup drills and layups, and one player in particular that would miss a layup and he'd have to yell power to make him go up hard. How much did he yell that when you were here as a player, not on the bench as a coach, but as a player? Did it ever get to a point you just wanted to look at him and say, Coach, come on, man. But see, this is your time. You can go ahead.
Oh, so many good things. Coach Harris is so funny, man. That's my guy. I admire him so much because his energy, even after all these years, is still the same, and his passion for the game. He's a huge mentor of mine, and I respect him so much. But he has his little sayings, and power is definitely number one on the list. And one thing he used to do in the game, so it's a little bit different. In practice, he has on tennis shoes, right? So we're moving around and doing drills, and we have a drill called power drill that we used to do. So he used to say it all the time when we were in that drill. So maybe not so much through practice unless somebody got a rebound and needed to go up. But we hear him say power right now to this day, and we're almost in our 40s. Just from some type of inspiration and encouragement, man. He's so enthusiastic. He always did it. So it's a little bit different when he said it in the game, because he would have on his coaching, he would look nice in his suit with some church shoes on, and he's stomping, saying power, like gonna put a hole in the floor. So Coach Harris and that I know you've seen him do that, Travis.
Dude, let me just put it this way. It's not even power. He might as well be standing up in the pulpit when he yells power.
He's preaching, Doc.
He's preaching into it. And so if you're never at a game, those of you that are watching and listening are going to be watching and listening.
Oh my God.
Now, you're going to, when you listen or watch a women's basketball game, you will hear him through the headset. We don't even have to use a crowd mic. We just let him come through the headset. But when you talk about Coach Harris, you talk about Coach Jackson, it's hard to believe that Coach Jackson is in her almost fourth decade now, probably, here at the school. When I throw this number out to you, I want you to listen to what Coach Harris is. Because I just counted it, Mike. Coach Harris is in his sixth decade at Alabama State. If you go back to the 70s.
Because he went to school. Yeah, he
played in the 70s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 10s.
Oh, my goodness.
So I think I'm going to have to text him when this is over and say, Coach, you realize how old you really are?
It's been 6. Wow.
And it really has.
Coach Jackson played there. Yep, Coach Jackson. That's right.
And I will say this. So, you being able to have that opportunity to play for those two, that have been at this school for a long time, and not only just play for them, but you got to sit on the bench with them as well and wear the coaching attire. So talk about that transition, just going from, I'm just a shooting guard. I'm not going to give you my numbers. We won titles. We had the best players in the country and HBCU. Look, the list can go on and on. I can sit here and name players all day long.
You can. You always do your homework, always.
You go from playing to coaching, and now that's where you're making your living.
Yes.
How was the transition, and how was the transition going from actually having to work hard for the coaches to working hard with the coaches?
It was actually a smooth transition for me. I'm going to tell you how I kind of got into coaching so quickly, because I've been doing it this is my 15th year. And
I wasn't going to date you, but I was going to let you.
You can date me. 38 and great. See? Birthday in the bubble. See? That's a whole nother conversation. But I started, of course, as a GA, and I got into being a graduate assistant with Coach Jackson because I unfortunately had some awful, I wouldn't say career-ending injuries, but they felt like it at the time. But I tore both my ACLs while I was playing at Alabama State, and I was devastated. I was like the sixth man off the bench my freshman year. Played really, really well. Had a great year playing behind great singers like Shamika Jackson and Kershetta Lewis and just so many, Jawanda West, a bunch of them played before me and set that example. And so I was able to come in to play with them and behind them. And I went on my sophomore year and I tore my ACL in practice my sophomore year. And you can imagine going into my sophomore year, we were championship ready. I already knew. what we're going to do, because our freshman class was so strong the year before. And Coach Jackson and them are great at recruiting and getting players that blend well, that mesh well. And so tore my ACL, so I had to sit out. So the year we won the SWAC championship, 2003, went on to play Tennessee. I was out with a season-ending injury with my ACL. Okay, so end up rehabbing really good. Come back. My junior year might as well just almost be forgotten about, because it was tough. It was tough coming back off that injury. And you're talking about 15 years ago. So the technology and the rehab and the surgery alone is so different. The recovery process is almost was a year at least back then. So that was extremely tough. Definitely made me gain some more mental toughness in my life dealing with that injury. And then I came back my senior year. So I was ready to play. I told Coach Jackson I was, and I ended up tearing my other one. So I tore both of my knees up in playing college ball at Alabama State University. So my career was cut a little short, but thankfully coaching was there. I asked Coach Jackson. So came back my senior year, and Coach Jackson, they brought in Letitia Holloway, Capri Taylor. You know, they were freshmen. I was a senior. And they were running circles around me because they're freshmen. They were young. And so I went and pulled Coach Jackson to the side and I said, Coach, look, this is my 5th year. Yeah, my graduate. So I sat out. I had 2 years. I had a medical red shirt, and then this is my other one. And so I was back playing after I rehabbed after my senior year. And I said, Coach Jackson, look, this probably ain't for me no more. I said, you know, these young girls running circles around me. I was like, but I could be like a player coach, you know what I'm saying? And she was like, yeah, Adria, you're already in grad school. She said, that's fine, you know, and she allowed me to do it. And I was literally in shock because it was actually something I had been praying about, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to excel at the level that I used to. So right. I'm like, okay, I'm over here taking up space. Like I know when it's time to, you know, hang them up on the power line, you know what I'm saying? So I ended up coaching, and she let me be a grad assistant, but ended up at the end of the year, that 5th year, they needed a shooter to go on to the tournament. So Coach Jackson comes and Coach Harris asked me to come back, Travis. I'm literally like 22, been coaching the whole year, probably a little bit out of shape, you know what I'm saying? And they were like, Adrienne, we got about 3 or 4 more weeks, 3 weeks or whatever before we go into the tournament. And she was like, it's so crazy because we just started the SWAC, and every time we go into the SWAC, they're asking me where you are. Like, where's that shooter that you had? And I was like, are you serious? She was like, yeah. And she was like, we thought about it. It'd be good to implement you back in. So I literally practiced up and went to the SWAC tournament and played. So Shantae Robinson was our point guard. I think Tisha was still there, Capri, all of them. And we were down. I don't know, we were playing Alcorn or somebody. Coach Jackson then put me in. This is that SWAC tournament I think it was at Fair Park at this time. Put me in. We were down by like 8 or 9. I go in and hit like 3 threes. Bring us back. And I think the headline on the paper was like the most unlikely hero or something, you know, the next day. So I was happy about that because I needed that. You know, we ended up losing, I think, by like 3 to Southern that year on a heartbreaker in the SWAC championship game. But I was glad I was able to go back and experience that. And then Coach Jackson allowed me to stay on as grad assistant. You know, Shamika came and got the position first for 1 year. And Shamika calls me and tells me, Adria, this job is for you. I said, what happened? Where are you going? She's like, coaching ain't for me. So that's how I ended up as the assistant for about 6 years, man. And it was a great experience. Coach Jackson really, really helped molded me into the coach that I am today. And I really, really appreciate them. You know, I call Coach Jackson mom. That's my other mom. So that's family. So
is Coach Harris grandpa then?
I'm gonna call him uncle because he's gonna hurt me if I say grandpa. Coach Harris, I didn't say that. Travis did.
So in 2011, and we'll go through this because I want to get into what you're doing now. 2011, okay. You get inducted into your high school athletic hall of fame. So we've already talked in depth about high school and how it was different for you being brought there and being brought up in there, and then coming to Alabama State. What did it mean to go back and get inducted?
Oh, that was a huge experience for me. My family came down. I had a very decorated athletic career at St. Paul's because I played everything. I played volleyball, basketball, and softball. The coaches always believed in me, and I didn't even know volleyball was something that I kind of picked up. That Coach Shoke she saw me out there, hooping one day, and she was like, Adria, I can teach you how to play volleyball. And I was like, what? I played in middle school, but these girls, of course, are on another level, I just didn't know if I could do it. And she told me that I could, and she believed in me, and started off on JV. I don't even think I started off on JV. I think she immediately put me on varsity because I learned pretty quickly. And I ended up falling in love with volleyball. We lost, got second in state. And I cried. I cried, and I never forget. My dad told me, he was like, Adrienne, he was like, this is just only the beginning. You're going to lose a lot, but that's the way to success. Failure is just a road to success. So that was a great experience. Softball, I was really good at that, like Super 12, all state, top 12 in the state. And then they decided to go to fast pitch, and I was like, no. I felt like learning a whole new game and all that. I'm like, nah, I'm straight on that. So Coach Strange wasn't too happy about that because I had some offers for softball on the table, but I knew basketball was my thing, so kind of cut down on sport every year. And so going back to get into my Hall of Fame and be recognized for all that was an amazing opportunity. Shout out to my high school coach, Coach Baker. I was just talking to her on Facebook the other day. Went to see another one of my high school teammates, Adria Walker, when I was in town. She just had a baby. So it's just still having a great relationship with those people has been truly a blessing. They're my friends and they're my family too. And I'm just, I was really, really extremely thankful to be inducted to the Hall of Fame. That's a big deal.
I think you're well on your way to an accomplished career as a coach too. Just listen to these numbers. I know you gave them to me, so you already know them, but the people at home don't know them. You're in your seventh season at Carver, 5 area championships, 6 Sweet 16s, 2 Elite Eights, and 1 Final Four as a coach. And folks, if you want to know how professional she is as a coach, go to Twitter and follow her on She's a Coach and check out her profile picture. Mid-court with a basketball, already ready to coach it. The season's not even going. I wasn't going to let that one slide on you. As soon as I saw it.
Thank you, Travis. Right when I updated, you just want to go in on it. That's fine. It's fine.
But no, I mean, just talk. Those are, when you go back and look at the numbers, and Carver has forever been a powerhouse in girls basketball, in Montgomery especially. But you go 5 area championships, 6 Sweet 16s, 2 Elite Eights, and 1 Final Four, and you're just going into your 7th season. What do those numbers say to you, even though we talked about what your objective is at the very beginning of this podcast, and it's not about winning and losing?
It means I'm doing something right? It means I'm doing something right. And I'm really big on walking in my purpose. And Travis, I kid you not, leaving Alabama State was something that me and Coach Jackson talked about because she understood where I wanted to go in this coaching thing, and she knew it was serious to me, and she encouraged me to do it because it was something she had actually done when she went down to Lochapoka, and she actually won a state championship. And so getting on this path was – everything has just been happening in sync and in order. And I have been so blessed for my journey thus far because, it's happening the way it's supposed to happen, and everything that has been destined for me has been coming to me, and I'm so thankful for it. But I also believe it's about putting yourself in the position, positioning yourself to be blessed and to be able to gain the recognition and have the success that you have because of how you view yourself as a coach or whatever your purpose may be. So I absolutely know who I am, and I know coaching is what I'm supposed to be doing. the success that I've had at Carver, it's just been amazing. Like you said, they're a pillar in the community when it comes to athletics. And, I had really big shoes to fill coming behind Coach Simmons, who had been there over 30 plus years, did an excellent job, won state championships and all kind of regional tournaments, everything. She's also a huge mentor of mine and somebody I hugely respect. So the foundation was already laid. That's number one. So that was some legwork that I had absolutely nothing to do with. But it was my job to come in and keep that legacy going. And that was my main goal. I've been blessed with some great student athletes from all around. And it's just like they say that it's important to be able to put yourself in the right place at the right time. And Carver just was one of those places that I was supposed to be. And I'm so happy to be there. And it's been a great journey.
So we've talked about your playing career. We talked about your coaching career. Now let's go one forward. Now you're the new owner of the Montgomery Lady Magic semi-pro team. What does that say to you that you've worked your way to get to that point?
It says a lot. I'm going to be completely honest with you. This was something that wasn't on my radar, but it was an opportunity that was presented to me. The previous owners brought the platform of the WABA to my attention, and I coached the Magic last year, and that was a great experience. And I took my vision as far as the team name and the logo and everything to them, and everybody got on board. And we had a great inaugural season, a wonderful inaugural season. And so the opportunity came up for the CEO of the league, Ms. Marsha Blunt of the WABA. She reached out to me and gave me the opportunity to get the team. And I thought about it for a very long time. I was extremely apprehensive about it because I do have a lot going on already in my life, but I tell people that everything that I have going on, it's absolutely surrounding the game of basketball. And so I prayed about it for a long time, for probably about 6, 7, almost 8 months because I was kind of teeter-tottering on the fact that if I should do it or not. And, the Lord spoke to me very clearly and told me it was something I was supposed to do, not just for the city, but for the girls that played, that I had recruited last year to come to play for me, and that it was just something that was going to be good for the city of Montgomery. So ownership is a big deal. Ownership is a big deal. I'm like you said earlier, I'm in school, finishing up my PhD in sports management. So it made sense because I was already learning the things that I needed to know as far as ownership in the sports industry, and getting some strategies and some tips on how to absolutely run a great organization. So everything just lined up. It lined up, and it was supposed to happen. And once they announced it, man, my phone was ringing off the hook. I was able to receive this opportunity from you reaching out to me. So I feel like it was the right thing to do for the city of Montgomery, for the community and beyond.
So my question is, when are you going to change your Twitter handle from she's a coach to she's a coach / owner?
Oh, how about this one? So I tell everybody when I finally get my doctorate, I'm going to be Dr. Coach A.
And that was my next thing.
That was your next one?
Is you got 2 degrees from state. You got your undergrad in communications. You got your master's in health education. Now you're working on your PhD. How important is that, not just for you, but to be able to show your students that you have now currently how important education is?
Education is very important. It's something that I thrive off of personally. I can understand sometimes that, continuing to go on in education is not for everybody, but it's something that I thrive off of because I am getting this PhD because I want to be able to have a seat at every table. I want to be able to have that type of favor on my life to where I'm so educated and so diverse and so ready that they are going to wonder, well, maybe we should call this Adria girl in or whatever, maybe we should present this opportunity to Adria because, she has the background for it. She's this, she's that. I want to be everything. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I kind of encourage my girls to understand, that there's nothing that you cannot do. When you put your mind to something and able to hone in on it and believe, it's nothing that you can't do in this world, nothing that you cannot accomplish. So I'm very, very big on encouraging them to further their education, even after school. And it's not always about basketball. It's not about basketball. I tell them, you don't have to play basketball in college if you don't want to, but you need to get a good education. And it doesn't matter if you go to a 4-year, 2-year, or JUCO, whatever, you need to further your education to have a bright future.
I want everybody to write this down. Write it down in September, because I want everybody to pull their notepads out, because the one thing that we haven't touched on, and I'm just going to say write this down because I want to pull it out when it happens. The ultimate goal that you have is return to coaching on the collegiate level at a major Division I institution. And I'm telling people to write that down, because the very next thing you say is never stop believing.
Never stop believing. Never stop believing.
Make sure everybody writes that down, because obviously when you go from 2 degrees from the Alabama State University to playing to coaching at the same institution to becoming a high school head coach that has a ton of success to working on your PhD to becoming an owner, it's only just a matter of time before that next goal is in sight. And if I know you're already pushing towards it as we speak.
I am. Thank you, Travis. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm definitely trying to just position myself and just waiting on the opportunity to come. My main goal is finishing this doctoral degree first, and I have about another because of the pandemic. Things have been pushed back a little bit, but I'm actually on the cusp of starting my comprehensive exams next week, as a matter of fact, and then it's my dissertation. So that'll take about 8 to 12 months for me, and I'm going to be, my research is in about Title IX and cross-gender coaching, women coaching men's teams. So I'm excited about it, but I've definitely been trying to get ready for the next step. I was telling my AD, Coach Franklin over at Carver, I said, man, it's 7 years. It just flew by, like 7 years. Like, this is my 7th year at Carver. That's unbelievable. And I was like, it just feels like it's just 2014 and me coming in here and getting the job. So, time flies and it waits on no one. So we got to make sure we work in between time. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to position myself and get ready for the next step that God has.
Yeah, you have to live each day, because it's the only one you're going to get. As you move forward, it's only September 25th, 2020 you got. So, you got to live each one like it's the last one you got, because it is going to be the last one of that day. But
absolutely.
But we appreciate you taking time out of your day, because I know your schedule is busy as we get ready to move forward, and especially with the pandemic, things have changed and things have become fluid. But again, 2 degrees from Alabama State, working on a PhD, played here, coached here, player coached here. We'll put it that way. High school head coach, very successful, to an owner now. There is no stopping you at this point. But we really do appreciate you taking time out of your day. And we can't wait to see you, hopefully soon, here in the Acadome when we get ready to play here, and see you here supporting the Hornets on both the men and women's side. Yes,
I'm truly excited about coming over to support my Hornet family. And I want to thank you, Travis, and to the entire athletic staff, past and present. Alabama State holds a huge place in my heart. I bleed black and gold, and I just appreciate all the love you guys always show us. And thanks for what you're doing for the alumni and former student athletes. This is great. This is a great platform for people to be able to come and tell their story, but to not only tell the story, but to also tell about how awesome Alabama State is as one of the top HBCUs in the country. So just thank you. I'm happy to be able to speak with you today, and I'll come back anytime, buddy.
So before we go, this is hard to believe. This started out as a dream of having it done, once a month. We enter month 5 on our next podcast, folks. Month number 5 of the podcast.
Yes.
Make sure you stay tuned. We'll have more alumni, more coaches, more administrators from past and present of Alabama State. Until next time, you've been listening to Hornet Nation Unfiltered. We'll talk to you again next week. You've been listening to Hornet Nation Unfiltered. We'll be back next week with another special guest from Alabama State's past. Until next time.